Right then, welcome back to the channel. It's United and Arsenal. Normally a game that you look forward to in the season, especially at Old Trafford. You feel like you've got half a choice, but after the disappointing draw with Burnley, then the thrashing that we got from Crystal Palace, it means we've fallen to 8th in the table, and we could go without European football next season. Although I'm not sure how it works with the FA Cup. I thought we'd already qualified with it being whatever. So we have but one win in our last 7 games. Arsenal obviously maintaining their title push with a 3-0 victory over Bournemouth in the last game. They have now won 14 of their last 16 Premier League games. They're in good form. They haven't won a league game in front of supporters at Old Trafford since 2006. But I think that's probably going to change. So, how do they play? In sustained possession, Arsenal set up with that 3-2-2-3 sort of formation. 4 players in a box midfield that work together to look to try and create numerical superiority in midfield. And I say work to create numerical superiority in midfield, but they won't need to work to create numerical superiority against Manchester United. It'll just be numerically superior. The inverted fullback usually plays as one of the 2 holding midfielders in this phase of the game, and it's Zinchenko if he plays, if Tomiyasu isn't. But Tomiyasu doesn't quite invert in the same sort of way. He's more of a defender, so sometimes they'll want to do it from the other side. But if it's Zinchenko, he pops in, gives them an extra midfielder, and it creates more options in the centre, less space between players, and Arteta likes it because prioritises playing through the middle of the pitch. He needs one player high, one to try and pull wide in the back line, and that creates advantages in that sort of midfield area. A massive aspect of that is the high possession build-up, and it keeps them with a high back line as well. They counter-press because they have bodies in the centre of the pitch, so if they lose the ball in the middle of that build-up, they've got players right there that they can just try and close something down and try and win the ball back. Having more players close to the centre of the pitch makes it a lot more difficult for opposition to play a ball out of the danger zone and then play a ball vertical and get forward behind it. That high back line also shortens the distance between the players as well, squeezing the pitch that little bit, shortening the time and the length of the passes, and prevents opposition from pushing their defence up because they've got to deal with all of the players that Arsenal are flooding forward with that can get on the ball and then hurt you. Arsenal often rotate in the build-up and they'll create new formations, not to the extent that Arteta thinks, where he said that they played a game where they had 43 different formations. No, he fucking didn't. It's not a fault. Like, people moving into space doesn't make it a new formation, but they will create different patterns and different shapes within their system to try and create numerical advantage wherever they can find it. But every time a player moves into a new area, it doesn't make it a new position or a new formation at all. It's just nonsense, but it is what it is. The sort of most frequent one that you'll see is they push one of the centre halves in midfield, and then it goes from being the 3-2 to a 2-3-2-3. And the principles and the general guidelines stay the same when they do that. They are excellent in the final third. They look to create chances, as always, and they always create chances, usually by attacking the space in between the centre halves and the fullback. I love that because I think it is one of the places of weakness in any back four. If you can pull one of the fullbacks to the side, that's why City have the wingers right on the touchline, because they're trying to create a space in behind that fullback where usually with its City, they will have a midfielder sort of steam into and expose. Arsenal do that in wide areas with underlaps from the midfielders into the half spaces as well. And it always looks quite aggressive, both with and without the ball. And without the ball, you'll see the high pressure that they bring, and Arteta usually wants the team to go quite man-to-man and intensely press the opposition as soon as they lose the ball. And they will often win the ball high up the pitch because they do that, and they get a lot of goals from just a couple of passes because they win the ball back from their high press. The opposition are in a little bit of disarray. 1-2 passes into a danger area, someone pulls the trigger, and boom, they've scored a goal. They are adaptable enough against teams that they don't respect in possessions that they'll just, stay high and do that. And against teams that they do respect, they will sit off and look to maybe mid-block and engage aggressively around about the halfway line rather than having too many of your players caught up the pitch. And they're pretty good at it. Starman, I think, Declan Rice, I think he's been excellent for them this season. And in the last few games, actually, you could argue that he's kicked on a little bit more, playing more of an 8 since Partey's come into the team. He does have a bit of physicality in midfield, and he will be a mismatch for us against ours. His ability to do the carries through the centre of the pitch is something that you didn't really see from him at West Ham, and I think that'll be a major cause for concern for United because of the space that we leave in a central area. He's also pretty good at set pieces, and I don't think anyone really talks about that, but it's something to keep an eye on. For United, I just don't know what you're going to play, or what your options are, because actually I do know what you're going to play. I just don't see where the options come into this. It's going to be Onana, it's going to be Dalot Wan-Bissaka, it's going to be Evans and Casemiro. I'd love to see Amrabat and Mount thrown in here, but unless there's injuries or a major change of heart, I just don't see it. I can see it being McTominay alongside Mainu, maybe, but just to freshen it up from being Eriksen, but it's not enough. And then I expect it to be Bruno because I don't expect him to be unfit for more than one game. I'd be very surprised if he misses this one as well, but presuming it is Bruno back in the mid, Anthony, Garnacho, Højlund. So who's United's match winner in this? Probably Garnacho. You need pace to hurt Arsenal transitionally. Højlund did a pretty decent job, wasn't lucky not to get a penalty at the Emirates, but we're going to need those forward players to perform. And you're going to have to keep them honest defensively, but you're going to have to be clinical when you get a few chances. Unfortunately, I just don't see us doing it. I think we're really going to struggle. Right, I know I shouldn't laugh at this, but how would you like to get United to beat Arsenal at 50-1? Our friends at Parimatch are offering new customers the chance to get enhanced odds of 50-1 on United to beat Arsenal. If you want to claim that offer, simply create a Parimatch account, opt into the promotion, and then place a bet at the normal price on United to beat Arsenal. Enhanced odds mean that there is a maximum stake of £1, and the enhanced odds are paid in free bets. So remember, if you would like to join in on that, you've got to be 18 and a UK resident, and full terms and conditions do apply. And a huge thanks to Parimatch for sponsoring this, even though I feel it's a little bit of a dig. How do we beat them? You got to be excellent on the counter. You need prime Ollie Ball in the mix for this one. Their setup is very expansive, and they are vulnerable to getting hit on the transition, particularly if you beat that initial press. If you have a little bit of quality where the ball is won, rondo and switch time, get it out of the danger area, get it forward, try and make them go 1v1, because they do want to defend 1v1, and 1v1 leaves you vulnerable, especially if you've got players that are willing to take you on. We've got players that can win, attacking duels with the ball at their feet. That's the one. United will win or lose this game by the forward three. Can they be clinical when they get the opportunity? Because they will get the opportunity. It's can they be clinical when it comes? Secondly, you got to clog up between the lines. No team has had more touches in the opposition penalty area than Arsenal. They are dangerous. No team gives up as many shots this calendar year as Manchester United. Honestly, there's more chance of us losing this by 4 or 5 goals than there is of us winning it. They love a central overload. You've got to clog that area up. This is the time to start being pragmatic. Whoever can be the sort of defensive midfielder in this team for United, it's not really Mainu's job. It's not really McTominay's job. Between the two of you, you're going to have to act like a defensive midfielder, because if you don't, you're going to get absolutely mullered. You're going to have to keep Saka quiet. He holds his width really well, and he's difficult to stop because he is he's capable 1v1, but he can threaten him behind as well, and they don't mind playing him either way. Arsenal, when they get comfortable in possession, will overload you all across the final third, and the philosophy is if a team defends with 4, they will attack with 5, and if a team defends with 5, they will attack with 6. Our left-hand side is going to need to be very, very disciplined to be able to double up occasionally. And we just got to hope for the best, because they're obviously going for a title. If they drop points here, it's probably over for them. But the reality is it probably won't be over for them, and they are massive, massive favourites to beat United in this game. Enjoy it. See you in a bit. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.